Day 5. The plan sounded simple on paper. Get to the Ticketmaster, secure passage, and keep moving. With Cindy's approval backing us, we didn't have to worry about caravan guardians taking shots at us. But approval doesn't get you through the gate. For that, you have to face the one person who actually controls the way forward. They call her Jandy. Not because it's her formal title, but because she's always smiling. The kind of smile that makes people relax for half a second before they remember where they are. She runs the mobile units, keeps the whole place moving, and she's got a soft spot for animals. In a world where everything has a price, Jandy decided money wasn't good enough. With her, you don't pay in credits or supplies. You pay in favors. And that would be fine if the favors were predictable. Fix a generator, escort a shipment, patch up a wound. But no, the terrifying part is that a favor can be anything. Anything she wants. Anything she decides you owe. And once you ask for passage, you're already halfway in her hands. We were crossing open ocean desert to reach her. And when I say ocean desert, I mean it literally, a flat, bleached wasteland where the sea used to be baked down to bone-dry nothing. No cliffs, no wreckage tall enough to hide behind. Just heat, glare, and the feeling that you're always visible from the sky. Halfway there, both of us froze at the same time. A sound you don't forget once it enters your life. Drones. A scouting squad coming in from the west, that thin mechanical hum that says, someone is looking, someone is hunting. This is where life really shows its teeth. In a place like that, hiding feels like a joke. But harvesters don't need logic to win. They just need to spot you once. I didn't waste words. I shoved Faith down into the sand and covered her fast, leaving only enough space for her mouth so she could breathe. Then I dropped and started wriggling forward, moving like a sand spider, pushing myself under until the world above went quiet and dim. Sand gets into everything, scrapes skin raw, fills your ears, but it beats being seen. We stayed still until the drones passed. That's the worst part, waiting and not knowing if they're going to keep going or widen their search. If they catch the smallest hint, they'll circle for hours. Hours we don't have. When it finally seemed quieter, I leaned close and whispered to Faith, asking if she could still hear them. Her hearing's stronger than mine because of her condition, and right then I trusted her senses more than my own fear. She listened, then told me she couldn't hear them anymore. So we pulled ourselves out of the sand and started moving again, trying to make up time without looking desperate. 30 minutes later, the sky betrayed us again. Another patrol looped back around, close enough that we felt like we could taste the vibration in the air. Back into the sand, we went again. Hide, wait, rise, run. Like the desert was training us to become ghosts. I told Faith what I was starting to believe. Nero had to be looking for her. Drones don't usually range that far out. Not unless there's a reason. And if Nero was throwing eyes this wide, it meant the net was tightening. We couldn't keep doing that all day. Not out there. Without a suit, you get 3 hours in that sun before it cooks you from the inside. We'd already been playing this game for an hour, and the heat didn't care why we were there. Faith finally asked the question she'd been holding back. Where exactly are we going? There aren't any cities out this way. Just emptiness. I remember smiling, because sometimes a smile is the only way to keep dread from turning into panic. I told her, oh, there's a city. It's just not where you expect it to be. It's underground. An ancient place, swallowed by the sea back when there was still a sea. We don't know the language carved into the walls, but the pictures tell the story well enough. Why would a city be built on an ocean floor unless the ocean came later? The entrance was only a few meters away, hidden like a secret the world forgot to guard. When we reached it, Faith stopped like she didn't trust her eyes. The structure was still intact somehow, like the earth had wrapped it in its fist and protected it. And inside it wasn't dead. It was full of people, animals, music, voices layered together into something dangerously close to normal. For a moment, Faith looked like she'd been dropped back into the old city, before Nero's shadow reached everywhere. It felt like a different world, one that had slipped through the cracks of the apocalypse untouched. I told her what it really was. We call it the ticket booth, a midway point to the sanctuary, and everything in there belongs to the Ticketmaster. Not officially, maybe, but in a way that matters. She's the guardian. If you want access, you go through her, and you don't argue about the toll. We moved deeper until we reached what used to be an ancient temple, some god's house back when people still believed stone could protect them. At the front was an altar, and where a priest should have stood, she sat. Jandy, slender, jet black hair, calm like she'd never had to run a day in her life. And beside her was a black panther pacing back and forth. Its chain lay across Jandy's lap like jewelry. A reminder, a warning, someone's prior favor, paid in something living and dangerous. Jandy was 20 now, but she'd been 12 when all of this started. Another childhood stolen by Nero. Another kid shaped into a weapon and then called fortunate for surviving it. I said as much to Faith under my breath. Harvester kid. Another casualty that learned how to smile with blood in her mouth. Then Jandy broke the whole room with a single shout, loud enough that every person waiting their turn snapped their attention toward us. Uncle John, is that you? It hit me wrong. Too loud. Too sudden. Too public. It wasn't like her to put emotion on display, and that made my stomach turn. I answered, and she waved us forward. As we walked, I could feel the stares. Not curiosity, resentment. People who'd been waiting for days to be seen, watching us stroll in like we belonged. Jandy didn't just manage passage. She decided who was worthy of reaching the sanctuary. She was careful, suspicious, and proud of it. Her whole city ran on favors, and she loved to repeat her philosophy like scripture. You can learn everything about a person by what they ask you to do when they need something. We reached the altar. The panther stopped pacing and sat, staring at us like we were meat that hadn't realized it was on the menu yet. Jandy smiled that famous smile and asked who my friend was. I knew she already knew. I'd sent a message ahead. That didn't make it easier. If anything, it made the air feel heavier, like the ground right before the water erupts, like you can sense the violence coming, but you can't name the moment it will arrive. I tried to keep my voice steady and glanced at Faith. Jandy's eyes were locked on her, and there was something in that look that wasn't curiosity at all. It was intent, cold and sharpened. I spoke carefully, the way I had years ago when I first found Jandy. Back then, she was a marked girl hiding in an alley. Her parents were dead, killed shielding her from the sun. She had dust on her face and terror in her throat, and I asked her for one thing. A favor. I asked her to trust me, to come with me, to fight and live. Now, standing in her temple city, I started to introduce Faith anyway. Jandy, this is Faith, she is... Jandy raised a hand, and the silence she demanded fell instantly. She didn't let me finish. Instead, she asked me for a favor of her own. Step away from her. I did it because in that moment, I still believed there was a conversation happening. I still believed we were negotiating. Jandy snapped the panther's chain outward like a whip, directing it toward Faith. And the panther moved like it had been waiting its entire life for that motion. It launched. It hit Faith hard, drove her down, and clamped its jaws onto her. Right there, in front of everyone. No trial, no warning, no mercy. Just teeth and weight and the awful sound of flesh giving way. People reacted in different ways. Some turned and fled, unable to watch. Others stayed frozen, too scared to move, like motion itself might invite the same fate. The room didn't erupt into chaos the way you'd expect. It tightened. It held its breath, like everyone had seen this kind of payment before and knew better than to interfere. I stood there, stunned, as if my mind couldn't accept what my eyes were reporting. And then the shock caught up to the meaning. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was Jandy choosing. I felt fury boil up so fast, it was almost clean, almost clarifying. And when I finally found my voice, it wasn't careful anymore. Do you have any idea what you just done?